So President Biden and a growing chorus of people are calling on New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign after an investigation that Cuomo himself called for found that he had sexually harassed people in his office. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video and subscribe to this channel, maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So the new report by Attorney General Letitia James finds that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo had engaged in repeated acts of sexual harassment in his office. This investigation was originally called for by Andrew Cuomo, thinking that somehow it would exonerate himself. That belief just shows how delusional and narcissistic Cuomo is. Cuomo must have believed that somehow he was going to be able to intimidate or bully the investigators into coming forward with some type of exoneration of him. That is not what happens, though. And this very credible report done by two respected experts on sexual harassment who have experienced prosecuting in such cases, neither of whom are employees of the state, and so it was an outside investigation. They produced a 165-page report that detailed one example of the governor's prurient behavior after another. Some of the allegations we'd heard before. In those cases, what's most important is the fact that the investigators, after conducting 179 interviews of witnesses and reviewing thousands of pages of documents, were able to validate these claims. But the report also included some things we hadn't heard before, like the really disturbing allegations as to how he had repeatedly sexually harassed a female state police trooper that Cuomo had specifically requested would be on his security detail. Now, Andrew Cuomo, who is divorced and for a while was living with celebrity chef Sandra Lee, denies these allegations and claims that the report was biased. Ironically, many people, including the New York Times and President Biden, had called for the public to wait and hear what the report would say before making any kind of determination as to what the governor should do. Well, now we have that report, and the New York Times and President Biden, among others, are calling for the governor to resign. And rightfully so, by the way. These allegations are really disturbing, and they point to a pattern of behavior by the governor that really should bother any person concerned about human rights. Cuomo's response at some points bordered on the ridiculous, including and I kid you not, a photo montage of him kissing different people where he could point to the fact that he was not kissing them in a sexually suggestive manner. Now, of course, these photos have nothing to do with the allegations before us, and pointing to statements of some of the accusers that were supportive of Governor Cuomo after they had left the office really does nothing to dispel the truth of these allegations. After all, if you're a politically ambitious person, having the governor of the state after you is not going to be something that's good for your career. So it's probably not surprising that these women posted positive commentaries after they left his office, especially in light of the governor's reputation as a bully and the way he and his office went after the reputation of his initial accuser, Lindsey Boylan. This situation can't help but make me think about the resignation of a former New York governor, Eliot Spitzer. Spitzer was truly an impressive public servant who did amazing work holding Wall Street titans to task. But when information came out that he had engaged a high-level prostitute, something that, by the way, did not include any abuse of office, almost immediately Spitzer resigned from office. He realized that losing the moral authority that he would have would make it impossible for him to hold other elected officials and business people accountable for their ethical lapses. I also had to think of the example of Al Franken, who, when as a senator, pictures came out of him joking around in an inappropriate way with a woman on an airplane, back long before he was a senator and while he was still a professional comedian, he too resigned, stating in his resignation speech that the irony was not lost on him that he was resigning when a proven sexual predator like Donald Trump was staying in office. Al Franken, though, and Eliot Spitzer put the concerns of their office and of the public ahead of their own concerns. And that's really what Andrew Cuomo has to do as well. What makes the allegations against Andrew Cuomo especially disturbing, and different, by the way, from the allegations against both Al Franken and Eliot Spitzer, is that these allegations present a pattern of him using his office to create environments where he could sexually abuse people, where his state-paid-for staff would protect him, and essentially put women in a position where they couldn't complain about his sexual abuse. In fact, one report points to the fact that when the state trooper complained to her superior about the behavior of the governor, that superior specifically texted her saying that what happened stays in the car. In other words, both the governor and her superior told her to keep quiet about the inappropriate behavior of the governor. Now, I know some are going to say, oh, this is an inappropriate double standard. I mean, look at how the Republicans behave and nothing happens to them. But as Al Franken and Eliot Spitzer understood, if we are going to hold the Republicans to task for their bad behavior, we as Democrats need to be above reproach. Yes, the Republicans are total scumbags in their behavior. I mean, I don't need to mention the pussy grabber himself, Donald Trump, or the Republican pedophile caucus made up of Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan. At least that's who we know about. But it becomes awfully easy for Republicans who actually do behave badly to turn around and say, oh, but look at what the Democrats do, if we don't hold our own to account. Certainly, the Me Too movement is going to result in pain and loss to some people. Most men my age grew up in a society in which small flirtations in the workplace were acceptable, even from the boss. But over time, those behaviors have come to be realized to be unacceptable. And men my age claiming, oh, but it was okay back when I was younger, or oh, I'm from a different era, don't work anymore. If we are going to say that we're opposed to sexual harassment and we support women's rights, then we need to be unassailable on those issues. And that's why Andrew Cuomo needs to follow the example of Eliot Spitzer and Al Franken and resign as quickly as possible. And despite the fact that he's a longtime friend and ally of Andrew Cuomo, it was right of President Biden for him to call for his resignation as well. Well, if you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to see your comments down below. And if you could give me a like or subscribe to this channel, that'd be a huge help. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.